R.E.P.O looks like a Lethal Company ripoff, and so for that reason, I wrote it off, initially. But after seeing Markiplier and Gab Smolders playing it, I noticed there was something that stood out to me.
Oh god, oh god. Get out! Oh.
It's got a different kind of terror. The type that makes you feel like you're about to rise up out of your chair, kind of like being on a roller coaster. But it still gives the players a sense of anxiety, panic, and dread because you have no idea what's about to happen or what's lurking behind a corner or a door. However, you know something is there, and you know the probability of you getting tuned up is high. And especially when you factor in the fact that you're playing with other people, the chaos gets dialed up to over 9,000.
No, don't touch it! Don't touch it! Run!
But that is not all of it, because if you thought R.E.P.O, which stands for the Retrieve, Extract, and Profit Organization, was just another Lethal Company clone, it has something else that adds to the fear factor.
Oh shit, dude, I can't believe that happened.
So, what makes R.E.P.O such a perfect disaster? Well, the answer comes down to three things: chaotic-based physics gameplay, the social madness of co-op horror, and the way that it balances fear with comedy.
Oh no! You broke that.
The moment you pick up an object, the game stops being the standard horror experience and turns into a full-blown struggle against physics itself. Objects have weight, awkward shapes, and momentum that doesn't always cooperate. Doors become obstacles, stairs are nightmares, and your coworkers will get in your way. When panic sets in, precision goes out the window. What should be a simple task, grabbing something and getting out, turns into an unpredictable disaster. And the worst part, in a lot of ways, it's always your fault. I mean, you can look back at your footage and find ways in which you could have played better. Maybe you shouldn't have rushed in, or perhaps maybe stepped back and taken it a little bit slower. But you see, that's the thing. When you're in the moment, you're not really stopping to think about these things. Psychologist Julian Rotter's locus of control theory explains that people experience less stress when they believe they have control over a situation. R.E.P.O flips that expectation upside down. Objects aren't going to move the way that you want them to. Small tasks take way too long. Hell, even placing something down incorrectly causes your loot to lose value. Half of dealing with physics in this game means that you are at a constant loss of control, making almost every decision you make feel a little bit stressful, even if there isn't a monster in sight. At the same time, R.E.P.O taps into frustration tolerance, a psychological trait that determines how well people can cope with obstacles. When we face repeated failure, we either push through or we shut down, something psychologist Martin Seligman explored in his learned helplessness theory. The more you struggle against R.E.P.O's physics, the more tempting it is to give up, but that is also what makes it so satisfying when you do succeed. The game conditions you to expect failure first. Even the taxman seems to goad you to laugh in your face at the absurdity of everything that you're trying to do. But this struggle isn't happening in isolation, because when you take this chaotic system and throw other people into the mix, that is when things get really interesting. Horror is bad enough when you're alone, but when you're with other people, that's when things start to get a little bit messy. Most multiplayer games have some level of cooperation, but R.E.P.O forces players into high-stress, high-risk decision-making where mistakes have immediate consequences, and some of those consequences extend beyond just you, and sometimes you can get your whole team killed as a result. However, what really makes this chaos work is proximity chat. Horror already messes with your brain, but when you hear a friend screaming in real time, that's when fear turns contagious. For example, one time I freaked out, the others who were nearby me immediately would go and hide, and they would start freaking out too, and I thought that was funny to see that in action. Studies on emotional contagion suggest that humans instinctively mirror the emotions of those around them. If one person starts freaking out, that anxiety spreads, and it spreads fast, and R.E.P.O weaponizes that perfectly. And yet, fear isn't the only thing affecting how players behave. Australian psychologist John Sweller's cognitive load theory explains why people make worse decisions under stress, like hitting the panic button at the first sign of a monster. The brain can only process so much information at once, and when it is overloaded, logical thinking tends to break down. That is why somebody who was relatively calm at the start of the mission suddenly starts making terrible choices when things go wrong. Fear and laughter are closely connected. Freud's relief theory of humor suggests that we laugh when built-up tension is suddenly released. This suggests why sometimes we have near-death experiences or uncomfortable and scary interactions, and we sort of just laugh it off. We brush it off and then we laugh. R.E.P.O puts players in high-stress situations and then lets them collapse into absurdity. Whether it's from a teammate getting dragged away by some knight or some floating alien picking people up mid-sentence and killing them, it is a perfect blend of horror and humor. But it's not just about the release. The incongruity theory of humor developed by Morial, based on Schopenhauer's work, explains why unexpected contradictions make us laugh. In R.E.P.O, the humor comes from the contrast between the serious and the absurd. A terrifying chase scene that ends because somebody got stuck in a doorway or couldn't figure out how to duck under a table and ended up dying. Even just the premise of what we're doing there, collecting valuable objects and then taking them to the extract point so that they can get sold, and then it only gets harder and harder each time as the quotas go up and the creatures become more horrific. I mean, that is pretty serious in and of itself. But the key is that the game sets you up to fail in the funniest ways possible. It is pure slapstick comedy.
Don't look at the... Don't look at the... Run!
The best horror games are the ones that stick with us. Not just the fear, but the memories that they create, the relatability, the moments of tension, the bursts of laughter, those absolute disasters that somehow feel like victories. Psychological studies show that strong emotions enhance episodic memory. We remember things better when we can feel sadness, anger, hope, love, but in R.E.P.O's case, they scare us, make us laugh, sometimes both.